Hi everyone, this is a tutorial on the new tool called the Atlas of RNG Manipulation for Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. So this is a tool that is meant to be used to get any drop, any card that you want on the Forbidden Memories game. There have existed other ways of getting a specific drop in the past by doing RNG manipulation, but most of them included the need of doing frame perfect inputs. So knowing exactly in which frame you were entering a duel, because that was very hard to do. I developed this tool to make it much easier. So it doesn't need any prior planning or preparation of the actions that we're going to take in the duel. Everything is just tracked real time, and we're going to be able to get any drop that we want. This works on obviously on the vanilla version of the game, played on emulator or PlayStation 1. What you can see here is a slightly modified version of the game so that I can better explain what I'm doing, which is you'll see here on the top left that I see these numbers. The way the RNG works on Forbidden Memories is on every frame on loading screens, the seed advances by one index. And so our seed is just that random number that is used by the game to make any sort of random action. So deciding how the decks are shuffled, or whether or not the opponent attacks a face down card, or what drop do we get at the end of the duel, everything is defined based on the value of the seed. So the way the program works is by entering our initial deck. We know all of the cards that we have, and then when we start a duel, we can see what cards do we get in our initial hand. So we try to basically identify what was the seed that we entered the duel on, and then during the duel, what we do is we track the actions that are occurring so that we can keep track of the seed. And then on our last turn, the program is going to tell us what exact actions do we need to take so that we can get the drop that we want. So obviously, the best way to understand it is to see it in action. So let's just go and check it out. All right, let's see an example. So the first thing we need to do in order to use this tool is to load our deck. So we need to input the IDs of the 40 cards that we have in our deck. For this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get an MBD from Metal Mage. So I'm going to look at my deck. I'm going to enter all the IDs in this input box right here. So ID 499, as you can see here, 499, 10, 10, 10, etc. So we're going to start the duel, and we're going to be starting the duel at this specific seed, although that obviously it's an unknown if we were to be playing an unmodified version of the game. What we're going to do is we're going to be entering the cards that we get in order to identify that initial seed, which will be unknown to us. Okay, so we haven't yet identified the initial seed. There's 7 possible seeds that we could have entered the duel on that would produce this initial hand. So we're going to be needing to include more of our cards and opponents' cards to identify the seed. What we're going to be doing throughout the game is keeping track of every event that occurs that moves the seed forward. As you can see there, that's something that moved the seed forward. So we're going to be keeping track of that. So our opponent on their first turn, they played Soju. So there's still 2 possible seats. We haven't identified the initial seat, and then we're going to add one more player card to see if that finally identifies the initial seat. Yes, so the initial seat was identified. It was 1886, as we saw at the beginning, was correct. So we need to keep track of actions that happen during the game, right? So let's say that there was already an action that occurred, which is there was a field change of Sojourn. So we can see that the program now understands that the seed now after that event is 7498, and that is the correct seed index. It is being identified correctly. So we're going to continue keeping track of events as they happen during the duel. Now I'm going to cause another event that's going to move the seed forward. I'm going to do a direct life point attack. So as you can see there, that moved the seed forward. So I'm keeping track of that action. It was more than 1,000 points of damage to a player. I'm not going to attack with my other card because I don't want to end the duel too soon. Okay, so now our opponent has played a card face down. We know what that card is because once we've identified the seed, we actually know all of the player's card and the opponent's card. Because once you know the seed, I can see that on the first turn they're playing Sojin. On the second turn, they're playing Judgment. And so I can see all of the cards that the opponent is going to play based on the initial seed, as well as my initial set of cards. So these were my initial five. And then I can see here that I got Shadow Spectre. On the next turn, I'm going to get another MBD. So I can see all of the cards that I'm going to get. It's not random for me anymore because once you know the seed, you know everything. So now we're on the last turn. And we're in the last turn because we could end the duel on this turn if we wanted to. Basically, what the program is going to tell us is it's going to tell us exactly what actions do we need to take to get the drop that we want, right? So we're going to tell the program what our cards on the field are on our hand, and what our desired drop is, and the program is going to tell us what actions do we need to take. So in this particular case, we have two MVDs on the field. They're both on Mars and they don't have any equipment on applied to them. And we're going to input our hand. How many cards left on our opponent's deck is 34. The last card is on the fence, and the opponent has 4,500 life points remaining. The field is type Sojin. This is going to be an SA POW duel. I know that based on the actions, how many turns happen, no fusions, etc. And we're going to say that we want to get an MBD. And now the program is going to calculate all of the possible combinations of actions that I could take. And it's going to find one that's going to give me the desired drop, right? So what it's telling me is to fuse these cards in this option, in this order. So I'm going to take card 2, 3, 4, and then 1. I'm going to place it on the field. In Pluto. Then I'm going to use a quick 3D attack from my first card on the field. So a quick 3D is attacking with square instead of X. And then as soon as we go into this 3D mode, I'm mashing the circle button so that it's ended as quick as possible. So that's a quick 3D attack. Spawn 3D would be when you actually see the circles loading on the screen of the 3D mode. And then a normal attack is just attacking with X. Now it's telling me to attack with the second card on the field. And finally to attack with the third card on the field. So as expected, that ended the duel. We get the drop that we wanted. So just by following the actions that the program was telling us to do, we get any card that we want. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to help you all. This is the URL of the app right here. Um, please feel free to try it out and let me know if you have any questions. By the way, in this particular example, I ended up identifying the seed before needing to input any of the actions. But in sometimes when you're using the tool, you might need to add some actions before you identify the initial seed. That's all right. You can keep track of the actions before identifying the seed. You just do both at the same time. The important thing to mention is to make sure that you read the tool guide here on the top on the first section. There are some limitations on things you can and cannot do during the tool while you're using this tool so that we can keep track of the seed. And I want to finish the video by giving a huge shout out and thank you to generic math scientist. He was the person that understood this game deeply and how the RNG mechanics of the game work that made all this possible. So this is the tool for you all. Feel free to try it out. The URL is here, ygo-fm-rng-manipulation.streamly.app. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed.